What's up, everyone? Happy New Year! It's a new year, so that means a whole entire year filled with new games and announcements that are coming this year. Now, I wanted to focus this video mostly focusing on games that I am looking forward to this year, alongside with a few announcements that we know are going to be happening, or what feels like it's more than likely going to be happening. And at the tail end of it, I will be talking a little bit of some of the changes that I'll be doing for this channel. Now, keep in mind, these are games that I am looking forward to this year that has known release dates or at least release windows. Everything else that is up in the air or hasn't been announced, I am not going to bring it up at all. Now, as far as some of the games that goes for announcements, I'm mostly going to be focusing on announcements when it comes to games that I am mostly focusing on my channel and what I am looking forward to, because there are some things that I like. Now, if you have a few things that you're looking forward to yourself, go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and maybe we can have a conversation right there. Okay, started in the very beginning this year, we have Hogwarts Legacy being released in February. There isn't much of a game that I'm looking forward to in January. I do know there is Dead Space, but there isn't much of like a necessary interest for me in that just yet. I want to wait a little bit on that game. But as far as like the first game goes for this year that I am actually looking forward to is Hogwarts Legacy. I know there's a lot of controversy when it comes to this game, but I really don't care for a lot of the J.K. Rowling crap because I could care less about her in general. But when it comes to the Harry Potter franchise, me and several of my friends, we all been looking forward to a game kind of like this. And I'm not gonna lie, I do have some skepticisms about it. I feel like it might be too good to be true, but nevertheless, I am looking forward to it because we've never had a game in this scale for this franchise ever before. So it's great to be able to have something like this for the first time ever, just to see how it goes. Coming up in March, which is the next month, is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, I do have a little bit of a hot take when it comes to this game. I don't necessarily think that it needs a remake right now. I really strongly believe it should have went to Code Veronica. I feel like that game needs a remake more than anything else, but that can be an entire conversation right there. Now, as far as the RE4 remake, I am actually quite excited to play this game once again. It's been a long time since I played the original. The original, in my eyes, still holds up to this day, but I am willing to see where they go as in reimagining this game in a remake sense. It looks like they're wanting to go back to the horror elements that Resident Evil has always been very big and known for. I feel like Resident Evil 4 was the start of the downfall to action with the Resident Evil games. I know many people are not going to agree with me on that one and say 5 was, but to be honest, I really do think 4 was the start of that. But none of that matters now. We have the remake. It looks amazing. I'm actually looking really forward to it. I believe me and my brother are going to be having a great time trying to play something like that. Up next, we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, this is a game that I'm looking forward to just because I actually did enjoy the original game. Even though the original game felt a little clunky at times and it needed some work here and there as far as its combat goes, but I actually enjoyed its story and a lot of the elements that it brought in. Now, of course, it was no Force Unleashed, but I still loved it for what it was because it did playing as a Jedi very, very well. It done it so well to the point that I was always wanting a little bit more of the game. I was hoping that maybe they had a little bit more to it. I know they had a DLC adding some more battles and all that, but it didn't really reach my scratch of what I wanted for Star Wars. And plus, the combat was still a little bit shaky for me. So I'm hoping that its sequel will be able to bring in a lot more elements that made the first one at least a little unique and build upon it and make it so much more fun to play as well. And I'm curious where they're going as far as the story goes as well, considering that its lore and all that is a little interesting, if I gotta say. Up next, we have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, or Tears of the Kingdom. I'm still unsure about the official name for the first word of that title, but nevertheless, it's the sequel to the Breath of the Wild, a well-weighted game that everyone is mostly looking forward to. It is one of the most anticipated games of the year for a good reason. It's because Breath of the Wild has changed open world games a whole lot. It has changed Zelda games in a whole new level, and everyone is looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom because of what new elements they're going to bring to the game, and also what is it going to go in terms of the story. The ending of Breath of the Wild was left open. It was interesting. We don't know what they were going to do to the entire Kingdom of Hyrule and that world, and I would love for them to expand a little bit more on the story, and also please fix a couple of things in its combat. Now, I did enjoy Breath of the Wild for what it was, but I do feel like there were some things that needed to be tweaked, such as the weapons being broken, or at least the Hylian shield and the Master Sword, and even the dungeons itself. I feel like we didn't have traditional temples just because it was a more open world setting. But I would love for Tears of the Kingdom to have a lot more of a traditional temple to them, especially considering that we only had 4 major battles with certain bosses that all seemed the same, and also each one of those temples seemed a little bare bones on them. And I can understand what they were trying to do there. It's an open world game. You can go to any of those places at any time. And I'm 100% sure that Tears of the Kingdom is going to be in that same vein, but I'm really hoping they expand a little bit more into these temples, at least more, have a little more personality into them to make them more fun to play as. Okay, last confirmed date of games that I am mostly looking forward to in this year of 2023 is Final Fantasy 16. That's right. What else would it be? Coming in June of 22. We have Final Fantasy 16. Now, I've been looking forward to the next installment of Final Fantasy because, well, you may have guessed it, I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. I love the franchise and I love for what it's doing, and I really love the take that they're doing for this new entry. It seems like it's going in a far more mature setting. It's going back to medieval, which is one of the things that I wanted to do. It's go back to its medieval setting. Now, of course, it's not going to be full on medieval. If you are a true Final Fantasy fan, you know there are going to be some sci-fi elements in there. In some point, we even had a hint of it. But really, I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 because it's a brand new entry to the franchise, and also it's being held by none other than our boy Yoshi P. Now, of course, Yoshi P has a strong record right now with Final Fantasy 14 and its team, and the writers of that game is carried over to Final Fantasy 16, and I am extremely excited to see what they do with a single player JRPG such as this, and where they're going to end up going with the franchise afterwards. Now, I know it's going away from its staples of turn-based, or what I like to say ATB. Of course, it's going away in that direction to action, and it's a little mixed, but to me, I embracing a lot of the changes. I'm very confident to see they're going to do something really great with it. I know that I have faith in this team. They have done tremendously well with Final Fantasy 14, and I'm curious to see exactly how everything's going to work out as far as a single player game goes. Okay, so this next section is actually going to be focusing on games with 2023 release window, because there is no set release date, but they have said that it will be releasing in 2023. So starting with the first one that I feel like we have the most closest to almost a solid release to is Spider-Man 2. Now, Spider-Man 2 is being made by Insomniac once again, and I feel like they perfected the Spider-Man video game genre with the first one and expanded it so much more in Miles Morales. Now, I am a huge Spider-Man fan, so that could be a little bit biased, but nothing that has been anywhere close to how Insomniac's Spider-Man has gone so well with the PS4, and I'm excited to see where they go with the second one. In my opinion, I really think that Venom being added to the story is interesting, and I have a theory that Venom will end up being a playable character in that game at some point, and maybe even team up with Spider-Man and Miles. I feel like we're going to a certain direction with the story, but that's just my opinion on there. Who knows who the big bad will be in there? Maybe it could be Carnage, or it could be someone else. I have heard that Kraven's in there, so that's going to be a little interesting in itself, how it's going to be told in the story. Next up, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's literally just a continuation of the story of the original Final Fantasy VII. Now, I'm extremely excited for this one because this is actually going to be the juiciest part in the entire Final Fantasy VII story. This is where we're going to have so many of the great things that made the game, at least the original game, really well known and loved. In my honest opinion, I feel like this middle section of the game that they're telling in the story is actually one of the best parts in the entire game. It's pretty much kind of like here's all of the big reveals and all the big story moments, and let's see how the characters handle it. And I'm so excited to see how they're going to do it in the remake. Hopefully they do some justice to it. I'm sure they will. It feels like they've been doing a great job with the original remake version. And I guess we'll find out in winter 2023. But I must say, if I'm going to be 100% honest, I do think this game will either be released very late of 2023 or maybe even early of 2024, because they say physical year of 2023 or winter of 2023. But even so, I do think that game is going to be released sometime in the winter. It can be late 2023 or early 2024. Next, we have Lives of P, which is pretty much like if Pinocchio, or Disney, I guess in a sense, met Bloodborne, I guess you can say. But I think it's really cool just seeing something of like a Bloodborne spiritual successor being made. I enjoy the whole atmosphere that Bloodborne brings in its gameplay and all that, but I kind of wish that we had something in a much more updated sense, and this game seems like it's doing something like that, but having its own personality, of course. I don't want to say that it's very much like Bloodborne, but it still has some interesting concepts taken from Bloodborne, but making its own little thing in a sense of like its gameplay style and also, of course, its story. Okay, the last one when it comes to window releases is also Armored Core 6. Now, I have never played an Armored Core game before. I've actually never heard of it until the Game Awards, and if you have watched my reaction to the game, it looked pretty good and intriguing. Now, I done some thorough research within the time of its announcement and checked out some gameplay and all that, and I will say I'm a little bit mixed on it because I'm not too sure about how I feel about this mecha game. Now, I do like mech games. I do think they can be pretty fun, but this one is a unique one, and I am willing to give it a try once I see a little bit more of it. Now, I only say that I'm looking forward to it in a sense because it's something that Fromsoftware is doing differently, and it feels like the fan base is very passionate about it and talks so great about it that it's kind of like one of those hidden gems that Fromsoftware has. And I'm curious to see what it is because I'm always someone who's willing to try something new. A few honorable mentions before we move on would be Alan Wake 2. It's been a while since the last Alan Wake game. And then Starfield will be another game, I would say. Starfield is one game that I thought that was supposed to be coming out earlier this year, but I guess that's not going to be happening. I guess it's been delayed once more. I'm still a little skeptical on it, but I guess we will see once we start to see the game being fully released. And the next one be Stellar Blade. Now, these games that I am mentioning, of course, are just a few games that I am looking forward to playing mostly during my own time. Maybe I might stream a couple of these here and there, but I'm gonna be focusing on the channel with, of course, Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, but with a little hint of other games in a more honorable way. Okay, so this last section is going to be mostly focusing on announcements or events and of course the channel news itself. Now this last part is going to be mostly focusing on things that I talk about on the channel and things that I am looking forward to. So bear that in mind whenever it is that I'm talking about any of these things. The first thing I want to bring up is the 10-year anniversary for Final Fantasy XIV. Yes, 10-year anniversary for a game that was supposed to fail and almost made Square Enix have to shut down. That's right, Final Fantasy XIV original release was so bad that it was causing so many financial hardship for Square that they almost had to shut down completely. But it made one of the best, if not the best, turnarounds in gaming history ever. Having Yoshi P come onto the spotlight to take the director and producer role of this game has drastically changed exactly what this game was. It once was a game that you look at and it's like, oof. Now you look at it and it's one of the best video games that you can play online, especially for the MMO genre. So in the year of 2021, there was tons of people who were hearing so much about Final Fantasy XIV ever since that WoW was having a hard time keeping up with its player base. So many people has transferred over to Final Fantasy XIV and the success began to grow more. Now I won't say that 2021 was the beginning of the success of Final Fantasy XIV itself. Now, whenever Yoshi P and team has recreated the brand of A Realm Reborn and also Heavensward at the exact same time, which is a lot of work for the team to do, they made a pretty good redemption arc right there. And within time, it just kept on growing and growing. And I will have to say, Shadowbringers was actually the start for whenever the game actually began to get a lot of attention. Many people were talking about how great the expansion was, how great of a change it was for the MMO genre, and how much they have came from where they were to what they are now. It was a huge improvement, and just seeing that they're hitting their 10-year anniversary is actually a very exciting thing. I'm mostly looking forward to it because I want to see exactly what it is they're gonna do for this game. I hear it's gonna be something huge. And of course, around that exact same time, we're going to be seeing 7.0 news, which is the next big expansion for Final Fantasy XIV. And I think they're also doing their graphical update and showing a little bit of the tease of it. So I am really excited to see what they're going to end up doing for Final Fantasy XIV in 2023. It's going to be a big year for them. And of course, it's Final Fantasy XVI's release as well. Yoshi P, you are a busy man, and I'm excited to see what you're gonna have for us. Next up, we have Kingdom Hearts 4 news. Now, I do think that 2023 could be a strong year for Kingdom Hearts news, considering that I feel that that game could release in the year of 2024. Now, bear with me here. I know that we just got our first teaser announcement last year of them working on the game, but from what we have gathered from all reports, they've been working on the next major installment of Kingdom Hearts ever since Kingdom Hearts 3 was the release. And that was about 4 years ago when you think about it. And if you throw on 2024 as the release day, that is 5 years of development. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, didn't Kingdom Hearts 3 take a long time? Yes, that's true, but they switched engines and that's one of the main reasons why it took a lot of time. Now they're confident with the new engine, and it seems like Nomura knows where he's going in terms of the story and all that. We had hints of it in Remind. If you played through Remind, you will kind of know exactly where we're going in terms of Kingdom Hearts 4. And they've been releasing pretty good news on ideas of exactly how well the development has been going, as far as I can tell on there. So I do believe that the year 2024 or at least 2025 could be the release of Kingdom Hearts 4. But this year I do think that we're going to get tons of news for it, considering that we already are getting Final Fantasy 16 released this year, potentially even Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth being released this year. So Square needs some more heavy hitters, and Dragon Quest 12 has not been said anything at all, but I do think Dragon Quest 12 will get some news here this year, and also we'll get some huge news about Kingdom Hearts 4. Maybe those are our next two big hitters after these two games have been released this year. Lastly, but not the least, is what's going on with the channel. Now, of course, my channel has been mostly focusing on Final Fantasy 14 and Kingdom Hearts stuff, but I still want to continue to grow and do the things that I feel like it's best for the channel. I'm gonna be continuing my Let's Plays on Final Fantasy 14 content, and maybe a couple of other things that I feel like I have found a lot of interest in, I gotta say. But I will say that some of the content that will be coming to the YouTube channel will be changing up a little bit. I want to be able to fix a couple of things here and there to make it a little bit more entertaining and digestive, if I gotta say. So look forward to some of those things that are coming in this year. And with that being said, stay optimistic, everyone. Keep it real, and I shall see you all in the next one. Happy New Year. Peace out, everybody.